This is just a boy who went to his friend's 18th birthday party. And if you think this isn't going to happen to your child, you need to think again.
What would you say to, I guess, the Premier if she was watching now?
I think you need to look at, if this was really your child, what would you be doing? Who would you be speaking to? Because this has to change and you need to get tougher. Otherwise, it could be maybe a child that doesn't survive this.
The mother of a teenager bashed and robbed in a brutal and unprovoked attack by a gang of young Sudanese men is speaking out after the footage posted by his attackers went viral.
So Jack had gone to a party. It was his friend's 18th birthday party. We'd given him instructions he had to be home just after midnight. He went out the back to go and grab his jumper. From that point, he was actually grabbed around the neck by someone and they told him to go with them. He said no, he had to go home, and then he was forcibly taken around the back of the building where then a group of people actually continued to beat him, like they bashed him. And you know what I find really sick is they videoed everything. So the video that a lot of people have seen online came from them. Like they were celebrating what they were doing. They were celebrating him knocked out on the floor. They were celebrating him stealing his shoes.
And what was your reaction when you saw it?
Oh, as a mum, I was shaking. I was emotional. I think to see your child in that position, I mean, you can see on the video, Jack didn't fight back at all. I mean, for me, I most probably look in hindsight, that was a good thing because you just don't know when there's a gang of people who are doing that to him, you don't know what they might do.
On the night before you saw the video, how did you find out that your son had been attacked?
So we'd actually gone to bed. The really interesting thing is around the time of the attack, I was actually sending him text messages to say, are you okay? Are you on your way home? And I never got a response. So I assumed he was then coming home. I got a phone call from our daughter. So a friend had actually contacted my daughter. She contacted us. I called the number back and spoke to the police, who told me he had significant facial injuries and he'd been attacked.
What went through your head at that time?
My body went into shock. I think for 2 hours after it, I couldn't stop shaking uncontrollably. I mean, I started thinking how much damage they'd done to him, and our thing was just to get him to the hospital. And you know, the other thing is we were waiting for at least 2 hours. My husband ended up taking him in the car himself to the hospital because we were waiting for an ambulance. So the injuries right now, he has a fractured eye socket and it won't naturally go back itself. So we've seen some surgeons at the hospital and they've said he's on the borderline now of having to need surgery, which mean a titanium plate. But obviously we need to outweigh the risks of that operation with long term. He has double vision when he looks all the way up and all the way down, and the doctors have said that it's most probably going to move his eye socket as the swelling goes down. It will most probably move it, which it has slightly already.
So this problem's not new. It's been in the news, the headlines for now years. The government has suddenly implemented this machete ban. Was there a machete involved?
There was no machetes involved. Like, I don't think it solves the issue. Like, the issue isn't about the machetes. It's the issue of the youth crime that's happening right now. And it's these youths are getting arrested, but then they're getting out on bail and they're continuing to do it because they know they can do it. There needs to be tougher justice on these kids to make sure that the other ones aren't continuing to do this, to hurt innocent kids who are now getting caught up in all this violence.
Have you voiced this concern with the government?
I have. I've actually messaged the Premier for Victoria and I've heard nothing back.
So why do you think the Premier herself hasn't responded?
I have no idea. You know, if you go on her Facebook, it says she's a mum, etc., and cares about community. Well, where's the care? I'm a mum. Where's your care in what's happened to my child and what's happening to other innocent children?
Has anyone in the government or opposition gone back to you?
Yep, I have actually spoken to Brad Batten's office and they actually got back to me straight away. They called me, they've been messaging to check how Jack has been. They've actually been amazing. So I know their stance is on tougher laws for crime and, you know, I've been really impressed with the support that we've received from them.
Is there a racial element to this as well in these areas, in these gangs? And is that why people are too afraid to speak out? Even the Premier?
Maybe. I think so. Because it's a gang culture, and this isn't an Australian way. This isn't the way we've raised our kids to be. And I think this has been brought into this country. And I think they need to get tougher, or this is going to get worse. And what's going to happen next? What could have happened to Jack if they'd have had knives? Like, they have to stop this right now, because the gang culture comes from overseas. It's not necessarily here with the way that Aussie kids have been raised.
Now, I can tell you're not from here originally. How long have you been in Australia?
I've been in Australia for 23 years.
Have you seen a difference in this kind of crime? Have you seen it get worse, or was it the same 23 years ago when you got here?
Completely different now. It wasn't like this. I mean, even when we moved from Queensland to Melbourne 10 years ago, we loved living in Melbourne. It was lovely, it was diverse, and we loved this state. But it's changed. The last few years has changed. It is escalated to a way where we don't feel safe, and that's why we're leaving. We've had enough, we're not taking any more, and we're leaving and going to a state that we know is tougher on youth crime.
So I know there is a GoFundMe to raise some money to help with that move, and we'll put a link in the story on Rebel News. What's that about?
The funds wasn't really to help us move. The funds is to support Jack. And that's why our friends did it. So we had nothing to do with it. It was actually done by our friends, because we want to see long term that this helps him. He just signed up to do an apprenticeship this year in Melbourne. We're getting him into the apprenticeship on the Sunshine Coast and hoping he can. Obviously, it depends on his eyesight and everything if that changes. And if he can't do that, it's just to give him some backing and give him support which he needs, and maybe future medical bills and things like that.
What would you say to people that are supporting his campaign?
Look, we are so beyond grateful. We have the most amazing community, amazing friends who have come together right now, and we're so grateful for everyone who has been here, whether it's people who have helped set us up in a house or whatever it's been. Like, we are so grateful. We know there's good people. There are good people here in Australia, and it's great to see people come together.
What would you say to, I guess, apathetic parents out there that don't think it's going to happen to them, or maybe even feel like there's a part of the story that they blame your son for putting himself in that position?
This is just a boy who went to his friend's 18th birthday party. Why can't our kids just go to normal parties? They shouldn't go there in a fear that this violence is going to happen. He's never been in trouble. He's always been great at school. He's never been in a fight in his life. And if you think this isn't going to happen to your child, you need to think again.
If you think Jack's story is important, make sure to like, comment and share it widely. Then head to followavi.com to subscribe to my mailing list and for all the links to all my socials so you never miss a story, no matter how uncomfortable. Followavi.com.